The PSP. You know that little device that tricked us all into buying our movies again on mini DVDs for no good reason? Well, it had some pretty good game exclusives. Unfortunately, those that haven't been ported by now have been lost in time, and today we're going to take a look at some of those gems in a new episode of Games Lost in Time. Game exclusives are great to drive hype for a gaming platform. However, once a platform's life cycle has ended, those exclusives become at risk of being lost to time forever if they aren't ported. Some collectors and purists may argue porting devalues a gaming platform, and to them I say, you know what, so what? Isn't it more important to get these classics experienced by as large an audience as possible? Either way, here are just a few PSP exclusives I'd like to see ported to modern consoles. And before some of you smartasses jump into the comments to scream, hey, just use an emulator, yes, that would let me play these games, however it would not help these games and franchises resurface in the gaming industry. So it's not quite the same. This video was inspired by the most obvious title stagnating on the PSP library, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. We're currently in the midst of a Final Fantasy VII renaissance thanks to the recently released remake, and this classic exclusive is nowhere to be found on modern platforms. This specific game is even more elusive because it's not even available on the PlayStation Network or the Vita, making it only playable through owning both a PSP and a physical copy of the game. And to make it worse, this game is considered necessary lore to better understand the Final Fantasy VII universe. The game acts as a prequel to Final Fantasy VII and takes a look at the character Zack, a pretty important character that even gets a cameo in the remake. Unfortunately, anyone who's a casual Final Fantasy VII fan probably didn't understand or grasp why this black-haired Cloud lookalike was presented with an aura of such importance. The game also helps flesh out Aerith and Sephiroth's character a lot more, which would really complement the remake. What hurts even more in seeing this game trapped in the past is the fact that it's more akin to the gameplay style of the remake than the original turn-based gameplay found in the original Final Fantasy VII. This would make the game a perfect companion game to play after everyone has wrapped up their remake playthrough. It's also not like Square Enix has never done this type of thing before. Just look at the Kingdom Hearts franchise, which spans tons of platform and has been rebundled time and time again in collections for modern platforms. Like, are you telling me that Final Fantasy VII is worth less than the Kingdom Hearts franchise? Not sure about that. Heck, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which was a PSP exclusive and had a lot of similarities in style to Crisis Core, was rebundled in Kingdom Hearts HD 2.5 Remix for the PS3 and then later rebundled again for the PS4 in another collection terribly named Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix. Which, by the way, just note, these are entirely different entries from Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, just as an FYI. Not gonna go down that rabbit hole today though, but the point is Square Enix can port PSP games and they really suck at naming their ports. So why isn't this game ported anywhere 12 years after launch? Well, word on the street is there's a licensing issue either regarding a song or one of the antagonists in the game, which would make any port or online distribution more complicated. If that is true, the game industry should learn one thing from this. Stop working with musicians or celebrities unless they're breathtaking, like Keanu. He gets a pass. The next title I'd like to discuss is Patapon III, the third entry in a franchise made popular by the PSP. If there's one game on this list that's bound to see a modern port, it's probably this one. PlayStation has been really busy porting its predecessors Patapon and Patapon II to the PlayStation 4 over the last few years. If sales are good, I can only imagine Patapon 3 and maybe even a Patapon collection isn't too far off. While it's a rhythm game, and usually there's not too much of a difference between entries in a rhythm franchise outside of song choices and gameplay modes, Patapon actually has a plot tying all of these titles together. It's not like Square Enix RPG level plot or anything, but it would still be nice to see the trilogy fully ported to the modern era. For those unfamiliar with the series' gameplay, it's a fairly unique approach where a tribe of silhouette characters, called Patapons, journey onwards towards the right side of the screen. While adventuring, they sing to very catchy music and require the player to input button presses to the beat in order to advance and overcome challenges. There's a lot more to it, including character classes, leveling Patapons up, equipping skills, decorating your hideout, and so on. It really is a game with a ton of charm, unique gameplay, and visuals that definitely need a remaster alongside its predecessors.
Behind every great hero, there is always a wisecracking, obnoxious nincompoop.
Next is another strong PlayStation IP that has surprisingly been left to the pages of history so far, Daxter. The Jak and Daxter series was one of many popular franchises that debuted on the PlayStation 2, which PlayStation has mostly left behind in the past decade. The game focused mostly on 3D platforming and was even developed by legendary developer Naughty Dog, before they became busy with realistic characters and all that storytelling business.
I think they should be terrified of me.
Now, while the Jak and Daxter trilogy has seen plenty of love with an HD collection released on the Vita, the PS3, and again on the PlayStation 4, its portable exclusive was left to die on the PSP. The game Daxter would ditch its main protagonist Jak to focus instead on Daxter and the events before Jak and Daxter 2 when Jak was in prison. It's also the first game in the franchise not to be developed by Naughty Dog. Instead, it was developed by Ready at Dawn, the studio responsible for the amazing God of War, Ghosts of Sparta, but also The Order 1886.
Oh! Hello?
What's strange, however, is that Daxter sold well, offered great 3D platforming, and tied into the Jak and Daxter storyline. So why has it been mostly ignored? Licensing agreements aside, it's surprising that it wouldn't have been bundled with the Jak and Daxter trilogy, or at least given its own remaster. Next up, we have the tactical game with the French name Jeanne d'Arc, or as you know her, Joan of Arc, which debuted on the PSP. This game is technically playable on the Vita, but let's be honest, the Vita is just as dead, if not more dead, than the PSP. As the name suggests, the game takes place in France during the 100 Years' War and puts you in control of Joan of Arc. However, don't expect much of a lesson in history here, as the plot revolves around a fictional part of the war which involves demons fighting humans? Not really sure about that. What makes this game even more enticing for a port is the fact that it was developed by Level 5, the legendary developers known for Professor Layton series, or Ni no Kuni, or Yokai Watch, just to name a few. The game would be perfect for a port as it uses a more cartoon-style art design which could be up-res fairly easily. While I know it would be highly unlikely, a tactical game like this would just be perfect for the Nintendo Switch. Like, come on, gaming port gods, make this happen. Before getting to the last title on this list, I do want to mention Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, which acted as a sequel to the original Assassin's Creed game. This game wasn't so well received at launch, and with the advancement of the Assassin's Creed franchise over the years, it would probably be pretty rough to play today. Still though, it would be nice to experience the story of Altair after the events of the first game. Maybe in the case of this game, the simplest business case is to just release all the cutscenes with an Assassin's Creed remaster, or just say to hell with it and remaster this entire game alongside the original and call it the definitive Altair edition.
Stay away from her!
Last one for today is The Third Birthday, acting as the third and final entry in the Parasite Eve franchise after its 11-year slumber. Now that it's been 10 years since The Third Birthday came out, it would be a great time to not only revive this exclusive, but the entire franchise. For those who are unfamiliar, Parasite Eve is an action RPG survival horror series, which was originally developed by Square on the original PlayStation. With the third entry, the game was changed to be just a third-person RPG shooter and acting essentially as a spin-off to the previous entities. It even had some cool cameo outfits from the Final Fantasy franchise. So why does her clothes have two stages of being ripped? Well, you know, perverts. Simple stuff. Unfortunately, rebooting a franchise on PSP probably wasn't the best idea, as The Third Birthday failed to meet sales expectation. The Parasite Eve franchise has an interesting history with a decent fan base still to this day. Bringing this exclusive and the franchise back into the modern gaming conversation would be a great way to give this community another chance at life. And that's my list of PSP exclusives that I'd love to see ported in some capacity to modern consoles so that I could give them a playthrough. If you could pick some PSP titles, which ones would you want to see either ported or remade? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, keep it classy.